Morning. Hi, everybody. Hi, Ray. Hey, Susan. I'm here. It's Monday morning. It's still hot. It's still summer. It's still pandemic. And there's still yoga. Thank goodness. Glad to see people here tuning in. I'm glad to be here. And hi, Mary Beth. Say hello if you're here. Let me know how you're doing. Are we getting used to this? Are we adapting as human beings tend to do if we get out of our own way? I feel like I'm adapting all right. There are moments it's hard. It's hard and there's so much to be grateful for. So much gratitude to be had if we turn our attention that way. Good morning, Susan, Joanne. So good to see everybody here. Keeping the faith. All right. I'm going to go ahead and begin. So, welcome to Sun and Moon Yoga Studios YouTube channel. I'm Annie Moyer, and I almost got in a fight yesterday. Not quite, but almost. I was at Target with my daughter shopping for her new college apartment. There were about 25 people in the store, I would say, 24 of them masked. And the one man, probably in his 40s, who was unmasked, really wanted to make a point of it. And you could tell he was itching for a fight. He was seeking eye contact with every masked person that he could. I was watching him do this. And then it came to me, he saw me seeing him. And we locked eyes for a moment. And I probably did something like this. Here's my mask, probably like, or some look in my eyes, maybe a turn of the head to signify displeasure. And he reacted, as you would imagine somebody who's itching for a fight to do, with a bit of aggression and a sort of a belligerent, what? And pulled he had a scarf around his neck, so pulled it up around his neck and stood there waiting for further comment from me, which I did not provide because for who knows what reasons that weren't conscious in my mind at the moment, but I chose in that moment not to further engage. And some fights are worth having and some are not. To get into a verbal spar with somebody who is clearly seeking to prove a self-righteous point that is about the ego versus somebody who is seeking to elevate the greater good is really the difference between standing next to a dried up old creek bed and a mighty rolling river. You know, you can probably gather up a good solid number of friends to stand at the dried up old creek bed and convince each other that water is still flowing, but it's not going to flow to the river. There isn't any water there. It's not going to deliver the barge to the next town. It's not going to quench anybody's thirst. The mighty rolling river is symbolic of an effort, a fight that's worthy of jumping into because it is elevating others and not defining just the self. The teachings of yoga call us to discern between the dried creek bed that is about the separate nature of self, the individual, the ego presence, and the, the river that is full and nourishing and functional and that floats us all to the surface. The practice of discipline and self study helps us discern between the two, between the fight that is going to elevate the causes of compassion and kindness and care and public health, and those that simply serve to narrowly define separate egos. We need to learn how to be strong enough to be soft in a world that is so, so hard. And the way to do that is to build up that inner strength so that we're clear and disciplined and ready on the inside to make those quick momentary decisions about how to be soft on the outside so we can serve each other, so we can help each other, so we can be good and decent and uplifting to those who are suffering the most and to our own present moment suffering. There is no fight in yoga. There is no fight. There is, however, a strong drive toward this discernment and toward an understanding of, again, how to be strong enough to be soft in this very hard world. Come to stand on your mat. And stand at the front of the mat with palms together. And take a few long, slow breaths. And imagine that your mat itself is symbolic of an ample river that will carry what needs to be carried forward. And imagine that your breath, as it rises and falls, is in harmony with that natural rising and falling of the waters. And that your own presence here on this river is afloat with compassion and care, with patience, with inner strength and outer supple softness. And then on your next inhale, reach up nice and tall, lifting through the fingertips, lifting up from the heart and out through the gaze. And then exhale, float the arms down as you fold forward. And hang your head and relax your jaw. Tap into the strength that is inherent in your legs to help you stand up against gravity. And the soft, supple spine that allows the cascade downward along with the flow of gravity. And then bend your knees a tad and climb your hands up onto your thighs and raise your heart and climb your shoulders up onto your upper back. Put a little arch in your spine. And then keep your legs just as they are. Keep your hands in place. And then round the spine, dropping the sitting bones and the tail a little bit scooping underneath you. Hang the head. Feel the back of the neck be long. And then do that a few more times. Inhale, arching the mid-spine down as you climb your shoulder blades up onto your back. And exhale as you scoop the bottom of your pelvis underneath. And then at the end of your next exhale, fold down. Plant the feet strongly into the ground. Inhale, rise up, lift through the fingers, the heart, and the gaze. And then exhale, hands together at heart center. And then repeat. Inhale, reach tall. Exhale, cascade down, flowing like a river from the sitting bones to the crown of your head. Bend the knees, hands up on the thighs. Arch the spine as you rise up, and then round as you exhale. A couple more times. And then the next time you are in the arched position with the mid-spine dropping, the sitting bones lifting up behind you, root into the feet, get really steady in the legs, and plan to step one foot all the way back. And then land the heel on the ground. Keep the front knee bent and reach your arms up for a warrior pose. The hips are turned a little bit to the side to allow for that backward stride. The ribs and the heart are turning forward in a gentle twist. Again, the rising is present through your heart, your fingers, and your gaze. And then on your exhale, float the arms down, fold forward, reach for the ground or blocks, lift up your back heel and pivot on the toes so they point forward. And step your front foot back either to a plank pose or a table pose. And then lower yourself all the way to the ground, belly down, and heart forward and slowly rising up. Shoulders drawing back toward each other, elbows hugging in toward the ribs. And exhale, release down, tuck your toes, push back and up through the hips into downward facing dog. Long, steady breaths. The strength here is necessary to hold the shape of the downward facing dog. But we don't want so much strength that we harden into the hardness around us. Be soft on the outside. Be kind and caring. There is no fight in yoga, but there is discipline and clarity of purpose. And then come up high on your toes, and then just take a walk forward. Feet up toward the hands, let go of the floor whenever you need to. Take another bow down as deeply as it makes sense. And then root into the feet. Inhale, rise up tall. Lift heart, fingers, and gaze. And then hands back to heart center. And then again, inhale, reach up and fold down. Bend your knees, climb your hands up onto your thighs. Lift the torso, look forward, drop the mid-spine, lift the sitting bones. Exhale, round the spine. Inhale, arch down again. And exhale, round. And then pause. And then step your new foot back. So root into the feet, strong and clear in the legs. One foot goes back, land the heel on the ground, and take your warrior on the second side. So the hips again are turned slightly to allow for the long backward stride. And the ribs and the heart take a tiny twist forward and reach up. And breathe in and breathe out. And exhale and float the arms down, fold forward, reach for the floor, pivot the back foot so the heel lifts, toes turn forward. Step back to plank pose or to table, and then lower to the ground. Inhale, lift the heart. Climb the shoulders up onto the back. Hug the ribs with your elbows. And release down. Tuck the toes. Downward facing dog. Slow, steady breaths. Come up on the toes. Take a walk towards your hands. Let go of the floor whenever you need to. Hang down for an extra exhale. And then inhale, rise up, and hands to the heart. We'll take a little balancing posture, a little tree pose. So this metaphor holds up well with the symbol of the tree because a rigid tree is going to snap in a storm. But a fluid, supple tree with strong roots, with clear strength that's hidden from the eye, is the one that will survive. So set those roots down through one foot, bring the other foot in as you turn the knee out, and then gently raise the foot as far as it makes sense onto the inner leg. You can be on the inner thigh, you can be on the inner calf, you could be on the inner ankle. And you can do anything you like with your branches. Slow, steady breaths. If you feel yourself swaying, let the sway happen and then return awareness to your strong roots. And then come down when you're satisfied and put the roots down on the other foot. Remember that the tree needs to sway. Remember that we need to be soft in a hard world, and it takes strength to do that. So rooting into the new standing foot, turn the other knee out, bring the foot in somewhere on the inside of the leg, the ankle, the calf, above the knee, or way up at the top of the thigh. Take a new arm position, something different from before. And breathe steadily in and out with a clarity of presence and a strength of purpose. The thing often that helps with balance is to press the lifted foot strongly into the inner thigh and then to answer that pressure with the inner thigh pressing back into the foot it's helping to support. This is how we feed the inner rivers so that we are not afraid then to jump into the community river that will uphold us all. And then come out as you're ready. Take an easy fold forward and then come all the way down onto your seat and stretch your legs out in front of you. And pause here, legs out in front, a simple staff pose. Hands to the floor by your hips, press the heels of your palms down, lift your heart. Inhale, reach up, and exhale, fold down. Straight down over your legs. It doesn't matter how far you go. If there's an urge inside to fight with your hamstrings or your spine, that won't work. That won't feed the river. Dispense with the ego-serving efforts and replace them with kind, patient compassion for this body that holds you in this world. Fold only as far as it makes sense. And then come back up nice and tall. Lean off to one side. So if you're leaning to your right side, turn both feet over to the right. And then kick back your left shin, point your toes, and return as close to upright as you can get. And then turn the remaining straight leg up with an active foot and fold forward over that leg. If your hip of your bent leg is up away from the floor, that's fine. You can grab a blanket, something to put underneath it. Or you could put the blanket over underneath the hip of the straight leg, which will then in effect drop the other hip. Or you can just let it ride, as long as you're not feeling any distinct pain. Easy fold, release the neck and the jaw. And then come slowly back up. Take away any support you may have added. Lean away from the bent knee enough so that you can lift up the foot and then straighten the leg and sit back upright in staff pose. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Come back up. Bring your hands a step behind you. This time point the toes. Squeeze the elbows and the shoulders in toward each other behind you. Lift up your hips. Look toward the ceiling. And then come back down. And then lean off to the other side. So if you're leaning to the left, tip your feet to the left. And then kick back the right shin. And bring your seat as close back to the floor as it will go. You can keep the hips where they are. You can keep this hip of the bent leg floating up in the air. You can put something underneath that one or the other one. And then inhale again and exhale and fold over your straight leg. Keep the foot of the straight leg perky, 5 toes pointing up toward the ceiling. Slow and steady breaths. And then come back up. So you don't want to undo this bent knee without making space to first rotate the leg and then unbend the knee, both legs straight out. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sit up tall, bring your hands behind you. Lean back, squeeze elbows and shoulders toward each other. Lift up the hips, scoop them toward the sky, look up. And then release back down. And then bend both knees in, or both knees, point them out, bring the feet in, and sit in bound angle pose. Slow, steady breaths. And then bring the knees together and lie down. And just roll back onto your back, pull the knees into the chest, and straighten them up toward the ceiling. Open them a little bit wide apart from each other, then bend the knees and bring the feet together and bring the knees in. And then cross your right leg over your left with your inner thighs touching. And then with your arms out on the floor by your sides, use your right leg to invite itself and the left leg over to the right. And then just pause in midair for a moment and see if there's any further to go in the twist. The legs might come a little closer to the floor, and if they come all the way down, the left shoulder might pop up. So can you soften that opposite shoulder back down toward the floor? And then use the leg that's on the bottom. If your right leg is crossed over and your knees are to the right, it's your left leg that will activate to help scoop the whole apparatus back up to center. Uncross. Straighten both legs up. Inhale, open them wide. Keep the knees wide, bring the feet together, and then bring the knees together. And then cross the other leg over. Whichever leg is on top, that's the side to twist to. So use the top leg to invite the legs to topple to the side. The pelvis will tip along with it. Notice the opposite shoulder perhaps popping up, and just invite it back down. Slow, steady breaths. Part of the practice of present moment awareness and self-study is to be constantly scanning for where strength is required and where softness is possible. We're always going to need them both. And then the question becomes, how do we use them when we're facing others in the world? So awareness on the leg that's on the bottom, and activate it and use it to scoop the whole system back up to center. Uncross the legs, pull the knees into the chest, and hug and curl up as close as you can, head to knees. And then lie back and circle the knees around. And circle them the other way. Bring the feet to the floor. Roll the pelvis back and forth a couple of times. Take the arms back behind you and stretch through the fingers. And then stretch the legs out and point through the toes. Bring your arms by your sides. Dig your heels into the floor and pedal your feet together quickly back and forth. Take a big, juicy, thirsty breath in. And as you exhale, let the feet come to stillness. Let the legs flop out. Let the whole body release. Be soft. And remember that the strength inside is still very much present and real. And then bend the knees and roll to your side. And bring yourself gently up to sit. Legs crossed in any comfortable manner. Spine nice and tall. Slow and steady breath. Let the eyes either close or let the eyelids comfortably drop and the gaze look comfortably downward. And as the gaze drops down, the heart can rise up, continually on guard for where our strength is most needed to serve on behalf of each other in this hard world in a way that allows us to be soft. It doesn't mean to never engage in conflict. It means to choose those conflicts that are worthy of each other's well-being and not just our own. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful day and wear your mask when you go out. Thank you. Take good care, everybody. You're so welcome, Susan. Thanks, Ellen. Thanks, Mary Beth. Hey, Nina. Oh, so great to see you. Thank you, everybody. Take good care, Ray. Bye-bye.